What's up, everybody? This is Greg with Advantage One Brokers, and this is the ADV1 podcast. This is a podcast that we come to you each and every weekday with relevant topics and trainings, and we bring guest speakers on. And today, my guest host is Mr. Elias. Elias, what's your last name, bro?
It's Ahmad.
Well, that's right. I knew that. Elias Ahmad. Elias, how are you doing, sir?
Good. Thank you for having me, Greg.
It's my pleasure, man. It's my pleasure. So you relatively new in ADV1. You came on quick. You got your contracts. You got some leads really fast, and I want to say you got leads like last Friday, and you made sales over the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I don't know. I've never met you before. We haven't really talked. This is really the first time I've even seen you on camera, face to face. Tell me a little bit about yourself, like where you come from, how long you've been in insurance, what'd you do prior to that? Let everybody know who you are.
Yeah, let's start with the last name because I get asked that a lot. Before insurance, I used to work in the film industry for a while, and we never used our real names over there. We always had pen names, so that's kind of how the whole Elias Ahmad, Elias Hartnett thing kind of came about. But I did the film industry stunt for a bit. I got burnt out, and long story short, I went into MLM, built some teams over there with some friends, did okay, and we had a team of like 3,000. And then I decided that the MLM industry is not for me because a lot of people are just getting turned and burnt, and went into just regular sales. I've been in sales pretty much my whole life. We had a construction company with some friends before I joined the insurance industry.
Mm-hmm.
I saw one of my buddies making some good money at another company, at a practice company, and I said, "Heck, you've been trying to get me over here for like 2 years. Let me take a look." I took a look, and I liked what I saw initially, and I joined. Got my license. Just hit the ground, started working it. It was a little up and down in the beginning, but it started going well after I started taking things a little more seriously. And that was 1 year ago. Now I'm not a veteran by any means, but I'm a little bit more knowledgeable about the industry, about the pros and the cons, you could say, of different companies, different, just the industry in as a whole.
Mm-hmm. So you've been in insurance a little bit over a year, been taking it serious for about a year. What have you noticed? You've got a lot of sales experience, MLM experience. What have you noticed as an industry as a whole? What the insurance industry, what it brings to the table, but also challenges within. I like to talk about this, so let's especially with the challenges.
Yeah, I think insurance in general is a phenomenal industry. It turns out the most amount of millionaires from my research than even real estate. It's a great industry, but if you're not aligned with the right team, right lead source, like company, it can be a rough industry too. And a lot of times people come in, and I've noticed that insurance, let's talk about the challenges, can be very predatory. You have agents coming in that don't know any better, going to certain companies, certain IMOs, captive, non-captive, etc., and they're getting promised things that they sounds good on the front end, but after you spend enough time, you start to see what else is available in the industry. You start to realize that, hey, maybe I was a little too hasty in jumping one particular company. So I've noticed that it can be a little predatory, but if you can navigate the waters, it's a phenomenal industry. You can create a phenomenal residual income really quickly. You provide a product and a service that people actually really want and need, and people are grateful. You get paid in direct proportion to the quality of service you provide. That's what I believe.
Yeah.
So,
agree 1,000%.
It's a phenomenal product. Yeah, phenomenal product. Many different products within the industry, and if you can align yourself up with the right people, the right organization, you'll do really well in this industry.
No, you're saying a lot of things that I think that agents don't really think about. Being paid in proportion to the service that you provide, and the thankfulness that that comes from the clients whenever you help them put them in the right product and you really do serve them. Mm-hmm. That makes it all worthwhile. And it kind of, when you change the sales process to where you're actually serving people and you're not doing it for the commission, even though we make a very good commission, but you're doing it truly in service to the person. There's a lot of empathy within the sales process. It really does change your
Hmm.
success and what you can accomplish. So, um,
Absolutely.
um, what's your experience been so far with the transition? I know you only had one practice company. Have you been in a couple? Has it just been one?
Just one practice company.
Just the one. So, so you've onboarded to two different companies. What's the onboarding been like here in your experience based on your previous and then we'll kind of dig into your first week in sales.
Yeah. So onboarding is a little more smoother, I would say. I mean, I like to think the insurance company spent a lot of money. The carrier spent a lot of money into developing their front offices for the clients.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little clunky in the back office, and that's just the industry in general. But so by itself, you've already got a lot of different websites, a lot of different back offices, CRMs, whatever you need to navigate. A lot of things that are new. So when a company can take things and organize things in a nice and concise manner, it makes it a lot easier. When you have to come in and figure things out on your own, you know, at the practice company, we did our best, but there was nothing from company wide that was uniform. I think a little bit of the uniformity here is very much appreciated. It's a breath of fresh air, knowing that every agent is going to get the same introductory email. They're going to get the same CRM back office. They're going to get the same organization from A to Z, from start to finish. That's a breath of fresh air because as an agency owner, as a manager, you want to make sure that your agents are taken care of first and foremost. And if you don't know what information they're getting because it's different between one company, I'm sorry, between one team and another team, it makes it hard to keep things, uniform.
Mm-hmm.
So over here, it's easier. I don't think onboarding is I think it's challenging regardless industry wide because it's especially for someone that's brand new, never been in the industry before. You're dealing in the financial sector, which has a lot of loops and things like that, in my opinion. But I think AV1's done a good job of really organizing things in a concise manner.
Absolutely. And no, you're right. There's so many antiquated systems that
Hmm.
if you look at this, it is, I think it's just life insurance. Honestly, I don't know about PNC. I've never worked that, but looking at how PNC does their business and how life insurance does their business, I think PNC is like leap years ahead in terms of their systems and their processes.
Hmm.
We're still kind of a few years behind. But I do feel that with Quility as a whole and ADV1 being a part of them, that they really are funneling millions of dollars a year into their
Hmm.
technological support, which does make a difference. It
Hmm.
really does. Having those the carrier support, the carrier partnerships, the systems and stuff in place, the future technologies that are coming out. So they're doing everything they can in order to make life easier for the agent from the time that they come on board until they're writing a policy and everything in between.
Yep.
So,
I had the pleasure. I don't know if I can talk about this or not, but if I can, I had the pleasure of getting a glimpse of the upcoming CRM and
you talking about the
from
Quality
Quility, man.
HQ?
Oh yeah,
That thing
it's. I
is
mean, you have metrics upon metrics.
that thing is
It's
sexy, right?
nice to know. Yeah, absolutely. One of my mentors always told me, you got to know the score in your business. You can't just say money in, money out. You got to know your trends. You got to know is your business on an upward incline or is it on a downward slope? And
Yeah.
and being able to track all that from a management standpoint is invaluable. Being able to see your own personal business from a new agent standpoint, all in one place under one roof,
Hmm.
makes it, I mean, it just reduces the headache. And with headache comes frustration. One of the things that the practice company was, I had to have like 5, 6 different Excel spreadsheets, try to keep track of logins, try to keep track of sales, try to keep track of lead costs, chargebacks, commissions, everything. And it's just a lot to do. And then when you have 15 different carriers that you're trying to do that with, it's just a lot of information to keep track of. When you can have it all under one roof in one place, it eliminates that piece of the business so you can focus more on what's more important, which is generating more business, more clients, and new future agents.
Absolutely. Yeah, that system Quality HQ is For the people watching, for the agents watching, imagine having a an agency CRM where you can see your entire hierarchy down to the individual agent. You can see every policy they've ever written. You can see how many policies they've submitted in the past week, the past month, the past 6 months. What's their placement ratio for every individual carrier? How much they have pending business, if there's pending business that needs requirements, all in one place. You can literally see
Hmm.
your entire hierarchy, who your directs are. You click on them, you see their directs, so on and so forth, and you just keep going down the line. You can see your entire organization in the
Hmm.
snapshots, like all the data that they have, and they can put in one spot.
Right.
It's
I think one of my favorite parts was the retention department, where
yes,
if you have, let's say someone decides they want to get a policy somewhere else, well, there's an actual department outside of you that will reach out to your client and say, hey, hold on, why don't you stay with us? And they'll, a conservation department, I guess you could say, they'll
mm,
conserve your business.
yep,
There's another department from what I'm hearing that will call and offer additional products. I mean, you have the right ability to do that for your clients anytime you want. But
mm,
if you're busy with your new clients and you have a giant book of business, well, just imagine having an extra 30% income coming in from other agents that are um, a new business department that will reach out to your clients, set up a policy, and you'll get a commission on it without even doing anything.
yep,
That's things like that. That's the innovation that I really appreciate.
yes, yeah. The innovation that they have, and that is continuing to come. The different products that are coming out next year are mind blowing. It's
Hmm.
just it's a game changer for the industry, and I really do think it's
Well,
going to be a completely different landscape.
having access to proprietary products in and of itself is a game changer.
Mm-hmm,
I mean, one of the sales I made, I could have never made at my practice company.
mm-hmm.
$1 million non-medical term product with on 4 table ratings. Instantly approved, instantly issued. I could have never done that
And no,
without
you're
blood work, without any exams.
absolutely. And so let's talk a little bit about your first weekend in the field. Um, how many leads did you get? Let's talk stats. Let's talk your numbers. How many leads you get?
Okay,
How many appointments you
so
said? All that stuff.
cool. Yeah, this is my favorite part because this is important. This is what you can use to base upcoming agents' successes off of. So let's talk about that. I focused on mortgage and protection leads. We got 10 of them. Um, I invested just $500, so $50 each. I got 10 of them. I called all 10 in 45 minutes. I was able to speak to 7 people, set 6 appointments. 5 of those 6 appointments were over the weekend, Saturday and Sunday. Number 6 is this coming Friday, so we'll address that as well. Out of those 5 appointments, we sold 4 with one referral for a total of 11,600 and some annual premium.
All in one day.
Um, all 2 days,
Oh, for 2 days. Okay.
Saturday and Sunday.
Okay.
Yep, Saturday and Sunday, and it was interesting because I'm so used to having a calendar. My Google Calendar has like 15 appointments, 10 appointments in one day, just for backups. And so seeing only 5, 2 on Saturday, 3 on Sunday, only seeing 5, I was kind of like a little, minor anxiety because I was like, do I have enough appointments? But everybody showed up. Um, no one said, I don't remember filling out a form. Everyone's like, oh yeah, yeah, cool. Okay, you're my underwriter. Okay, sounds good. I'll see you tomorrow. See you tomorrow at 2. I get there. One of them had coffee. We had coffee and bagels and stuff. She had a Spanish coffee.
Very nice.
Interesting.
Very nice.
Um,
That's the
it was
best.
just a regular. No, yeah, just regular conversation. Came in. I mean, having some experience with product knowledge, helped. And then, but even for me, I felt like a new agent, and I just picked up the phone, called some people for help, and I was able to walk through a lot of the products, and it was having higher quality products made the sale a lot easier.
Mhm.
Being able to address their needs, and having clients that are working, um, they're they're not, scraping by with Social Security income at $900 a month and already tapped out. They're looking to build their futures. They have money to invest. So just a higher level clientele, which I appreciate. Um, we still do the final expense, but I like the idea that mortgage protection is available for everyone. Lights
Oh,
just went out. Can you still see me?
I can barely see you. I can barely see.
All right.
No worries.
Let me go
Um,
turn this light on. Give me 1 second.
yeah, go ahead.
All right. Sorry about that.
That's fine. That's fine.
Hopefully it doesn't happen
Um,
again.
so with your with your success over the weekend, and you had the initial hesitation. Now looking at it, how do you feel about having to book your entire schedule, like working so much and working all the time just to make 10,000 a week or whatever it may be?
Yeah, I actually did the math. I mean, I'll be very honest and very blunt. One of the big things that helped me solidify my decision to come over here was that I was actually making less money at the practice company than when I started working there. With all due respect, I came in not broke. I had a construction company that I was running, helping run with a couple friends. I was doing about 160, 180,000 a year.
Mm,
When everything was done and said with my lead costs, my chargebacks, everything, my income was less at the practice company.
yeah.
I was working more. I came in not to make money. I came in to work less. I have other goals, dreams, things like that I want to focus on. One of those has become to have a phenomenal, well-built agency here. So I was looking for a place to really plant my flag. But um, with all that being said, um, the workload, if you break it down to an hourly rate, it wasn't that great. I'll just put it like that.
Mm,
Um, it was actually very upsetting when my CPA called me. My CPA called me and said, "Hey, what is this Mail Pro?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" It's like, "Well, you have over $60,000 in Mail Pro that I need to deduct." And um, my CPA is very like cautious around audits and things like that because we deduct 50 or 45,000 mileage per year. And then I have this now new expensive lead cost. And she's like, "Well, this is a huge flag. We have everything to prove it. It's fine. It's totally legit, but it's a huge flag. So keep track of everything." And that kind of let off a little bit of an alarm in me. I'm like, wait a minute, I got to start tracking myself better because um, my lead cost is really high. Factor in chargebacks, factor in all that, and all of a sudden my issue pay may look good on paper, but in my bank account, I mean, I'm not hurting, but it's not as good as it looks on the outside.
mm,
Um, so to answer your question, workload here, I mean, I set my appointments in 45 minutes. I'm not trying to sift through and find the people that actually want our help. Everybody that filled out a form that's exclusive to me is exclusive to me. Um, and if maybe I don't have as much to invest, there are leads, like out of the 10 leads, there's four of them that will probably be resold for $4 in the next 30 days. Anybody can pick those up. You get 50 of those for $200. I think that's right. 52. My
mm.
math's not that great. I can
You're
sell. I
right
can't
on. You're
add.
right on the money.
Um, but anybody can do that. I think if you tell people that, hey, you're gonna have to work 60 to 80 hours a week to really make this thing work, and you tell them up front, I know I wouldn't have joined. I know I wouldn't have entered that practice company. But I got sucked in, and that's what I had to do to make it work. You
Hmm.
know,
Hmm.
there's no going back. So something else came around that I looked into, did my due diligence, and it felt like a good shift for me and my agents.
Absolutely. And you talked about building and recruiting and building an agency so that you can have long
Hmm.
term wealth.
Hmm.
I like to talk about recruiting with a lot of people because what I see almost across the entire insurance industry is when people are building their agency, they'll take anybody that can breathe. It's like
Hmm.
it's like anybody. Oh, you can breathe, you can get a license, and I can show you how to do this. How do you recruit? when you're looking to create your perfect agency with the agents that you want to surround yourself by, how do you do your recruiting? What do you look for?
Well, I'm looking for my leaders first. A lot of the recruiting we did learn from the MLM world, and for all intents and purposes, I mean, you did learn a lot of business skills over there. So I looked for my front runners, the guys and girls that I can run with, that are sprinting just like me,
Mm-hmm.
and then I can build teams with them. So when I'm recruiting on an individual basis, I usually lock arms with a couple of my leaders and say, hey, let's look for people, your friends and family, my friends and family, and do our warm market. I also have external cold market recruiting platforms that I focus on and invest money into.
Mm-hmm.
Having money to invest into that makes it easier.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as recruiting, I mean, if you look at podcasts from my practice company, there's a point in time where people started saying, hey, we can't tell people that this is easy. Anybody can do it because not everybody can. I mean, I guess anybody can, but not everybody will work 60, 80, in some cases 100 hours a week. I remember I watched a podcast about a gentleman that was sleeping in his car so he can get to his next appointments. 3 hours of sleep a night. I'm like, hey, respect to you for doing 70, 80,000 a month issue pay, but that's not a life. Um, you know and so with recruiting, when I'm talking to people, I'll just be very upfront and direct with them. Look, you got to work really hard, um, and I want to make sure I bring people into an agency that they can work as much or as little as they want, and not and still have the success they want. Okay, so basically, I guess what I'm trying to say is, I don't want to tell someone that they can work part time and then they
Mm-hmm.
buy a batch of leads. They run those leads they call those leads 4 or 5 hours. They
Mm-hmm.
find out those leads aren't good. They got to buy another batch. Now their part-time income, a part-time expense turned into a full-time expense, and they got to spend another 4 or 5 hours on those leads. And their part-time time on the phone is now a full-time investment.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're working the same full hour, the full 60, 80 hours to make this thing work. And what happens is people are put through this ringer and they fall off in the process because they're like, I didn't prepare for this. I didn't come in for this. I came in to supplement my income. And now I'm just getting lucky with a batch of leads. Maybe it's good, maybe it's bad. I don't know. So being able to have predictable income with solid leads, leads are lifeblood. I lead with that. That's how I recruit.
Mm-hmm.
You can work as much or little as you want, and it'll work out for you because you have control of your leads.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And having quality leads, like you've already discussed, that are looking for insurance. They're quality sits. You don't have to spend forever to sit with them. And then when you do sit with them, you can actually have conversations with these people and find unique solutions to their problems. Then, overall with your driving, even with your driving, your appointments and your dialing, I'd say you probably worked about 10 hours, and I'm probably pushing it over the weekend, and then you're dialing. And that's
Yeah.
kind of pushing it. It's probably closer to eight and a half, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and when you look at those metrics, that's every single bit a part of the business, as your issue pay, as lead cost, and
Mm-hmm.
everything. Like, just imagine if you did that in 10 hours, if you're working 40 hours,
Right.
how much more are you, how much more are you making? And it just,
Right.
at that point, you're like, okay, now this system makes a lot of sense.
Right.
So,
I've had some friends ask me, well, hey, can I still grind it out and work 40, 50 hours? I'm like, absolutely.
yeah.
If you want to work that hard and have a significant income that reflects that workload, by all means,
Mm-hmm.
it's work smart, not hard. And if that's what you want to do, go for it. But you don't have to do that just to make it work.
Mm-hmm.
That's the biggest thing. And when you're building an agency, my first thought is always, you burn a building down from the ground, from the basement. So if you
Mm-hmm.
want to burn it down a building, right? The analogy goes, you can't burn it from the top. Okay,
Yeah.
you burn it down from the basement, you light the foundation on fire, and it collapses.
Yeah.
So if your foundation is new agents, and the new agents are constantly being turned and burnt because the workload, the lead quality is not as promised, they're anything but warm, that makes it difficult. It makes it difficult to continue to build your agency if you're constantly replacing the agents that came in.
Mm.
A 9 out of 10 quit ratio is not good. I don't expect it to be
That's
100% of
terrible.
the agents to come in. It's horrible.
That's
You know, a
that's terrible.
10% to 15%, 10%, 15% retention on your new agents is not good. You know, I don't expect it to be 100, but I'd say at least around 50, 60% of the agents coming in that are putting in money, time, and effort should actually have some success. You
Mm.
know, the ones that don't work, I can't account for, but the ones that do, yeah. So that was one of the biggest things is I just got tired of my agents calling me and telling me, hey, I worked this batch for 8 hours, 9, 10 hours, and I didn't get the results. And then I set 5 appointments, and went to them, and 4 of them didn't show up, and and one sale, and it's like, well, yeah, one sale, but if you take the commission from that sale divided by the hours you were on the phone, the drive time, the 4 appointments that didn't show up, you really not make that much money.
Mm. No, you're
So when you
absolutely
when
right.
you put the focus on time, time is a lot more valuable than money. When you put the focus on time, all of a sudden your income is not as good as you thought it was.
Yeah.
Just like you said, I would say probably 8 hours over the weekend. That's what I invested on those leads to generate, well, over in commission wise, over 12 grand.
Yeah. And which is that's pretty phenomenal. And what I've seen in the industry ever since with my previous press company and the 2+ years I was there, most people would be very happy with hitting 10K a week. Like
Hmm.
90% of agents, like they would be very comfortable because then if they could say, "Hey, I only got to spend $500 a week, and I'm going to make about 10,000 a week. I'm going to work 20 hours max with calls and everything," and you know, that's $40,000 a month when you and then subtract 2,000 of it. That's not a bad living. That's not a bad living at
No.
all. And most people would be very comfortable and they would rise to the level of their comfort and how far they want to go. But several six figures a year, even after expenses. And what it like, why not do that? You know? And
Hmm.
so what you'll find is that there's a very few people that are like you, Elias, where you're like, I want more, I want to grow, I want to build this team, I want to do these things. Most people say that, but when they look at the work involved, they'll say, "Eh, you know what? I'm actually making a lot of money doing this, and I'm fine with that. Like, because I'm
Right.
comfortable. I don't have to spend a lot of time on the phone. I get to spend time with my family, and I think that's the difference here is that you don't have to grind it out and sacrifice your family for like this vision for the future of having all these things for your family. You can
Right.
actually work here and enjoy your family throughout the process and actually have a good time. And
Right.
so,
I have
um,
I have a buddy of mine, hardest worker I know. And I'm like, look, man, you're working these 12-hour days every single day to benefit your family, but you've given up your family in the process to benefit them. And imagine if you could do all that in half the time and go spend time with your daughters. That's kind of what it comes down to.
yeah,
And just like you said, Greg, it's a lot of people don't want to work that hard. They don't, a lot of people don't want to make millions of dollars or half a million or even a quarter million. A lot of people are just happy with a 60 to $100,000 a year, which is a pretty good living, not in California, but anywhere else outside of California, pretty good living. And they can spend the rest of the time to be with their family.
yeah.
One of the things that actually brought me over here was, I don't remember the gentleman's name, but on a podcast, you guys are talking about how he worked 3 days a week, made 10 grand, and that was it. Did that 4 times, 2 to 4 times a month, and that was the income to spend the rest of the time with his family.
Mm-hmm.
And when I heard that, I was like, no, it can't be true, because I was so conditioned. We don't know what we don't know. I was so conditioned to be comfortable with the lifestyle that I had prior, my
Mm-hmm.
workload and everything there. And I was like, this is just the normal. Um, that when I did come over here, I ran the lead myself. I called the lead myself. I did everything myself. I was like, okay, there's some sauce here.
Mm-hmm.
The magic is there. And it comes down to that. I think AP1's they've got the magic when it comes down to generating the leads. And I respect Chris and Spencer for holding that magic and not giving it away, not selling it. I know in the future nothing's going to change because that's their pride and joy. That's like their baby,
Hmm.
you know, and they'll hold on to that magic sauce on generating their leads forever. That
Yeah.
way, I know quality will always remain.
No, you're absolutely right. And the other part of that is that when you if you ever sit down and like look at their books, which they'll show them to you, they're not afraid.
Hmm.
They'll show you like, hey, this is the margins that we operate with. This is what we spend
Hmm.
on lead sharing, and this is what we put for future lead development. Like they are
Hmm.
always looking for future lead that is quality, not just something
Hmm.
that they can sell, but something that is like this has to
Well,
work for
let's
the
and
agents.
exactly, and I've seen that. I had the pleasure of spending time with them very closely a lot of times. So, hey, Spencer, Chris, shout out to you guys. Thank you so much. I got to see them in their difficult times and their positive times. So it really, the transparency was very nice. I kept hearing about this transparency over and over and over, and I finally got to see firsthand, and it really did have a profound impact on me on my decision coming over here. Um, Let's talk about those leads. There goes the light again. Um,
That light hates you, bro. Is it one of those
I
like
know.
motion
It's.
sensor?
I'm in the conference room. It's in the sensor. Yeah, it's a motion sensor.
Yeah,
I'll keep talking. You can still hear me. I got you
yeah,
on
I can still hear
Bluetooth
you.
here. There we go. So, like I was saying, um, let's talk about those leads because when the leads are the lifeblood of this business. Now, when I started building, like, let me rewind. Had I not started building an agency, I'd probably still be where I was because I was doing good.
Mhm.
Okay. At the end of the day, you subtract my chargeback expenses. There was like up this up and down roller coaster. So I go up, have a nice issue pay, chargebacks, lead cost, and up again. But it was always on a more or less an upward trend.
Yeah.
Okay. I did notice my lead cost was getting higher over time. My gross sales were still about the same. So my net profit was becoming less. Those are metrics I do track on my own. So that's kind of that coupled with the fact that I started recruiting and I started seeing things from a different perspective from my agents. And when I had one agent tell me this doesn't work, I was like, okay, maybe it's just the agent. But I have four agents, five agents. I had one agent invest over $3,000, and they're like, hey, I did everything you said. Like, is it just is it me? Like, do I suck? You
Mhm.
know? And I'm like, you can't suck. It can't be you. You know, after a while, there's another trend emerging here, and it's all the agents are coming in, and 10% are staying. And if you look at the numbers of agents that we had brought in, um, at least from my perspective, it was about 10-15% were actually profiting.
Mhm.
You start taking away controlled business, where their friends and family they're selling policies to them, and you just start looking at just lead generated business, and it's even less. So at the end of the day, you need to have a place where a new agent can come in. They're not expected to invest tons of money, thousands of dollars. They can come into a lead source. Okay, it's like putting gas in your car. A lead source that is clean and efficient that will generate a profit for them.
Mhm.
And one of the things that really upset me was when I would talk about the lead problems, they would say, well, here's 25 other lead vendors. Okay, go try them out. And I'm like, I can do that. I was just on one of my marketing calls with one of my ladies that did a mail drop for me. I'm 4 weeks in. I've gotten three leads at $600 a week. She wanted me to invest 1,200 a week. I'm like, let's just start slow. You know, all I don't know when I'm going to get the return on that, if ever. Three of the leads, I got three leads. Two of the leads, by the way, said decline on the mail form. You can't expect a new agent to come in, invest 1,000 here, 1,000 there, 1,000 there, 1,000 there, and figure out what works. What they need is a platform that has a proven track record, and they need someone that can come in and say, "This is what you do. It works." Not 100% of the time, but 90%, 80%, 70% of the time.
Yeah.
10% of the time is not cutting it. You know, that's that right there is what will help you build an agency fast, and it'll keep you in profit mode with because as long as you're a little guy, the little guy coming in working a couple days a week, that little guy, there's millions of people like that out there that just want to work a little bit, take care of their family, make a decent income, and I'd rather have an army of those than a dozen killers and sharks that are willing to work 80 hours a week and then get burnt out.
Yeah. No,
That's
you're
my opinion.
in something that I want to highlight, and then I'll let you jump in and give a recommendation to agents watching. But you're really good. Like you're bringing up some really good points about tracking your numbers, the accounting of it, like every single little detail. And that really is like every single agent in the insurance industry should know the scorecard, but unfortunately most of them don't. And that is like, hey, you were talking about the trend of you were spending more on leads over time, but your return wasn't changing, was not increasing. And
Hmm.
so start tracking your numbers. Everyone watching, I don't care what company you're in, start tracking the numbers of how much you spend on a weekly, monthly basis for the different lead platforms. And then start tracking where those sales are coming from and how much is actually closing. But then in addition to that, start tracking your chargeback percentages. Okay, with the specific lead source. And what you're going to see is it's going to tell a story, and you're going to see exactly where the issues are, because numbers don't lie. They're unemotional. Numbers are numbers. So
Hmm.
if you can see, like, man, from the time that I started to now, I'm spending more in leads, but I'm actually taking home less because I'm working all these hours to run these leads, but I'm not making more money, and I'm taking home less,
Hmm.
and I'm working more. So it's like I'm doing more hours, spending more on leads, and the return is the same as it was when I first started. Oh, and also my chargeback percentage went up too. That tells a story,
Right.
and I think it'll make it very. It'll make the case for you that you may not be where you think you are, and
Right.
there's other options out there. Um, I just
Well, I
urge
think
everybody to do that.
absolutely. Anybody that's entering a business for themselves should 100% keep track of the score.
Yeah.
You don't enter a basketball game and say, okay, we're just going to play. You
Hmm.
keep score.
Yeah.
There's a winner. There's always a winner, so you have to know, are you winning or losing in this business that you're running? Starbucks, gas stations, every single business out there, every franchise, they have a score. They have a team that keeps track of all these analytics, these metrics. Right now, you are your first and only team.
Mm.
You have to keep track of this stuff. Eventually, you can get staff and all that. We can talk about that. But for right now, you have to keep track of your money going in, your money going out, and you have to keep track of your trends so you can stop something that before it gets out of hand. That's one thing I always prided myself on, was that I'm going to nip it in the bud. Hence why I stopped recruiting, because we brought on about 15, 20 agents a month.
Mm-hmm.
We were bringing on agents, and for a good 2.5 month stretch, we were doing well on recruiting. And then you could see the issue pay reports, you could see the chargebacks, you could see the different people on the leaderboard. It would always change. So little by little, I started seeing these trends of agents coming in, and I started noticing the 10%, 15%. I would talk to my uplines and say, hey, how many agents have you brought on? How many are there? And I'm like, man, this is not looking good long term. And I don't want to build an agency of let's just say 100 agents doing 10,000 a month. That's $1 million agency. Awesome. I don't want to build that agency and then have to burn through 900 agents just to get my 100.
Yeah.
People focus on, well, I got my 100 agents. Well, yeah, but you also hurt 900 of them.
Yeah.
That part doesn't, that you're okay with that part? I'm not okay with that part. Um, and while we're talking about $1 million agency, I found out, through the transparency here, the level of contracts you can get. I mean, anybody can have a direct to carrier contract. You can go well past. I mean, there's some comps out there. They're pretty high. They're
Mm-hmm.
well above what's advertised.
Yeah.
So, and then on the back end, I guess, being able to shop my book of business if I ever do decide to sell anywhere, not just being locked into one place,
Mm-hmm.
is a big piece for me.
And here's the thing: is that if you when you get to shop, because there's a lot of companies out there that will buy an IMO book of business
Hmm.
once you get to $1 million production net issue paid production
Hmm.
after chargebacks have been removed. When you get to that point, there's a lot of companies that will buy that book of business. And when you get to shop around, there's power in that, because then you can actually pick the absolute best deal instead of be told
Right,
one, which is like a wholesale rate. Like,
right. And if I'm going to buy your book of business and I know I have no competition, what incentive do I have to give you a good offer? I'm going to lowball you because you have to take it or not, or it's take me or bust.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I never liked that. And this is depth of vision. You got to be able to see further than just the acorn. The acorn is not an acorn; it's a tree, it's a house, it's a foundation, it's a civilization. You got to be able to see further. And looking further into the future, I didn't want to get big enough, and then I really can't leave. If I'm going to plant my flag somewhere, I'm going to plant it to a place that I have the utmost freedom and as much control of my business and distribution as possible. That's what I'm
Absolutely.
building. I'm building my distribution. And if agents come in, they have control over their distribution, their business, and we grow together.
Mm.
I didn't ask for some of the perks that I was given. They just offered me perks. You want to rent an office? Cool. We'll help you. You're helping us. You're helping us. We're making money. You're making money. Let's help each other. Not you front all the costs yourself.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Yeah. No, it makes a world difference. And I could not have
Mm-hmm.
said it better myself, Elias.
So, yeah.
For any agent that's watching this, that's, on the fence, which there's plenty, I'm sure. What would you tell them in order to get them to commit
I
to
would,
one or the other?
well, okay, if anybody's on the fence, I would say, look, we all came into this with no contracts, independent agreements that said we can work wherever we want, as much or as little as we want. We're willing to put our cards on the table. Try us out. Try us out. If you like it, cool. If you don't, no worries. You want a release signed? We'll sign it day one. You can have your release signed day one so that 2 years later, you got a big agency. You can say, oh, they signed my release back on that date.
Yeah.
Okay, try us out. If you don't like it, don't worry. We're not gonna. I wish you the best. And when I had my construction company, I had agents that wanted to go and sell solar because we didn't do solar, and I was like, go, try it out. I didn't tell them the pitfalls of solar that it takes 3 to 6 months to get paid, and you go through these red hoops with PG&E and all this stuff and blah blah blah. So go try it out. If you don't like it, you can always have a spot. You can always come back.
Mm-hmm.
Some did, some didn't. So that's what I would suggest. Everything looks nice and pretty on the outside. You learn what it's really like working somewhere or doing something when you actually get in. Go try them out, try us out, wherever you want to do. There's other places you can go, and go with what you feel. Go with the place that you feel you'll be the most successful to take care of you and your family.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's us, we're happy to have you.
Absolutely. Elias, thank you so much for taking the time to come on here and talk to me for the past almost 45 minutes. Time flies, right?
Time flies. Yeah.
I know, right? Thank you so much, man.
We had 2 light intermissions.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a third one that's going to happen right before we get done. If anybody wants to reach out to you because they really enjoyed, listening to you and learning from you over this podcast, what's the best way that they can reach you, Elias?
Just call me. My phone number is 310-307-9925. Call me. You can text me, but honestly, if you're serious, pick up the phone, call me. I'll answer your call. We'll have a good conversation. 310-307-9925.
Fantastic, man. Thank you again, Elias. It was a pleasure being able to speak with you and actually finally meeting you digitally.
Yeah.
This is still the month of October. So, Elias, do you know what that means? Do you know what that means?
Maybe I'm too new.
It's the quality level competition. So the quality level term competition.
Yes. Okay.
October 6th through November 13th, we're going to be doing the quality term competition. So for those of you that are, I think right now, Teddy Ingram is in the lead. I'm pretty sure he is. But top place winner gets $5,000 cash awarded to them. They fly out to Sacramento and get treated by Spencer, Chris, and I. We're going to get on podcast live and give you the money, and you'll be able to spend the day with us. You'll get to see Quality Headquarters if you have not already. And well, not Quality Headquarters, but their headquarters in Sacramento, and get to find out all these things that Elias and I were talking about. You'll be able to talk to some of the top leadership and see the future plans. So this is going to be actually a super special trip for whoever wins. For those of you watching, if you like some of the ADV1 swag that I'm wearing, the hashtag shirts, go to the Advantage One Brokers site. You can go to the store. You can buy the hashtag shirts. You can buy polos, pants, shorts, all kinds of stuff. Any swag you want, it's there for you guys. Thank you so much for watching, taking part in the ADV1 podcast. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure that you hit the subscribe button. If you and also turn on notifications, because we're coming to you each and every weekday with the podcast. I'm your host, Greg